today we're going to focus on payment processors and should you use them? Which one should you use? What do they mean? Yada, yada, yada. Welcome to the Up in My Business podcast with me, Lex Lancaster, where you'll get an inside look at all things tech, business, and my life as a physical therapist turned digital operations expert. You'll hear all about my lessons as a business owner, the ins and outs of tech for your business, and more. From SEO, websites, and email marketing to automations, launches, and copywriting, I've got you. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. This episode is brought to you by Jane, a clinic management software built to help you focus on what matters most, your patients. Building rapport with your patients is important during appointments, and that can be challenging when you're also trying to take timely and detailed documentation. That's why Jane built AI Scribe to help you document important information without the manual note-taking. This feature transforms your sessions, seriously, it's amazing, into chart entries, and all you have to do is review your notes, sign the chart, and you're done. And since security is a top priority at Jane, seriously, it is so important to them. AI Scribe was built securely in-house to be fully HIPAA and PIP EDA compliant. With a tool you can trust, Jane helps you spend more time on patient care. To learn more about how Jane can help change how you feel about documentation, head to meet.jane.app/documentation to book a demo or sign up. And if you're ready to go, don't forget to use my code LEX1MO for a 1-month grace period on your new Jane account. And if you're curious about AI Scribe, I highly recommend you go ahead and take a demo with Jane because I saw it in action and it is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Up in My Business. Today is going to be a relatively quick one compared to the last couple of episodes that I have recorded. As always, I like to keep them short because I know how you have limited time, and I know that we're not looking to intake a bunch of information all the time. At least I'm not. So I want to make sure I keep it nice and short, nice and sweet for you, so that way you can listen and go on with your day. Quick little update for you personally. I know if you listen to the podcast, you know that I got my ears pierced last week. Well, I'll tell you what, if you're going to get your ears pierced, get them done when you're younger. You definitely heal differently when you're older. I know this is obviously, yes, Lex, duh. I've been using red light. I've been doing all the things, and I have my headphones on today, and oh my God, they're a little too sore to have headphones on. But it is what it is. I got to record my podcast. I got them done on Saturday, so I'm almost a week out. It's Friday as I'm recording this. Oddly enough, last Sunday, I had my headphones on recording and I was A-okay. So anyway, we're almost a week into the healing process. And, I'm just going to say, I don't remember it being like this. So it's fine. It's fine. And also my earlobes are way more sore than my cartilage that I got re-pierced. So anyway, just going to recommend that if you want to get your ears pierced, do it when you're younger. I know that none of us can reverse time. So just go into it expecting it to not be cake. If you remember healing time being cake last time you got it done, because it's not. I am also business-wise, I sent out my monthly recap email today, an announcement this Thursday. Shanté's new podcast, ChatGPT Curious, is going to be launching. I highly recommend you listen to it. This is coming from someone who is obviously very into tech. Shanté has taught me so much about ChatGPT and how to use it, how not to use it, how to best use it. And every time I mention it on a coaching call, I don't want to say folks they didn't understand how to use it. I'm going to use the word optimally, or what it actually is giving you and how it computes results. But I really think it's important to understand what it is and how it works. And she's going to go into deep dive into ChatGPT. So I recommend the first 3 episodes will launch this Thursday. The trailer is out now. So go listen to it. I think you should know how to use it and what it means and how it calculates things and how you can best use it. It's really an incredible tool, but I do think there is a lot of misuse going on, and just because it's not understood what it actually is. And like I said, like I am privy to hearing her talk about it all the time, and I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by it at this point. And so, after learning so much from her, it's undeniable that there are a lot of things that are definitely misrepresented or people might not understand. So go listen to that. It'll be on all podcast players. You can listen to the trailer now. I will link the trailer or the show itself in the show notes so you can take a peek as well. But that's all I really got for updates. I am in the middle of deciding a big decision right now for my business. It will be a first time thing. So I've been back and forth, and I'm never a back and forth person. It's either like a hell yes or a hell no. But I think I'm leaning on a little bit of, I'm a little apprehensive just because, feeling a little, I don't want to say fearful, but I'm a little apprehensive about it, but I am leaning on the fact that I think this might work out. We'll see what happens. I'll keep you posted if I end up saying yes. And if not, then, I probably won't tell you. So that is what it is. So stay tuned for that. Maybe next week I will announce whether that was a yes or a no. And I'm being like the person who posts on Facebook and is like, please pray for me, but like doesn't give you any details. It's nothing bad. It's just like I am deciding whether or not I'm going to enroll in something for myself and my business, and waiting for my brain and my nervous system to give me the final A-OK. Okay, with that being said, I want to answer a question that came in through my Ask Lex form. So if you get my weekly newsletter, you will see that I have an Ask Lex form inside the bottom of the email. That is truly anonymous, to the point where someone asked a question that pertained to them only, and there was absolutely no way that I could write back to them. So I was just hoping they would send me an email, because my automation, how it works is you go to a thank you page that says like, this is anonymous. There is no way for me to know what you asked or who asked this. There is absolutely no way. It's not attached to an email. It's not attached to your name. Like, there is no way for me to know who asked this question. So, I was just hoping that person would reach out personally, and they did. However, if you are wondering if it's truly anonymous, it is truly anonymous. It's not a ConvertKit form where I can see who clicked it, whose email is there. Like, it is truly anonymous. And I did that on purpose because I want to make sure that people are able to ask a question. So yeah, I'm going to answer that question. So one of the questions that came in is about payment processors. And the question was basically like, do you use Stripe or have you found a better one? So instead of answering that specific question, I'm going to answer the question around the question about payment processors and why I like Stripe, but also why I don't use Stripe for other places. So here's the thing. Let's just start at the very beginning. Payment processors are ways that you are able to take payment online if someone wants to pay you. So if I have an offer online, then I will give them a way to pay me for that offer with a payment processor. So lots of payment processors exist. There are payment processors within your software options, which I'll go through in a second. But two really common payment processors are Stripe and PayPal. Now, between the two of them, I always will tell people to go with Stripe. That is because Stripe has lower payment processor fees. So when you use a payment processors, Stripe and PayPal, we're going to stick with those two, they are taking on a risk by allowing you to use their software to purchase something. A credit card is being input. A bank account is being input. They have to pay to have security around this stuff and the like. So in order to provide that service, Stripe and PayPal charge a fee because it makes sense, right? So they charge a fee based on whatever it costs them to run this software. Now, it's a competitive market, right? So Stripe's fee can't be exponentially higher than PayPal or vice versa because it is a competitive market. Everyone is trying to outprice each other so that you go with their payment processor. So if you're choosing between PayPal and Stripe, I will always tell people to go with Stripe because Stripe has lower fees, period. So if you're charging someone for a program that's $10, you will get more of that $10 if you use a Stripe for your online payment processor as opposed to using PayPal. So we're going to check the box next to Stripe and why I like Stripe. That's a period, point blank period. So an example of Stripe that where I use that as a payment processor is inside of Acuity Scheduling. So Acuity Scheduling does not have a payment processor integrated into the platform. So I connect it to Stripe. When someone pays me on Acuity, they then pay me through Acuity, which is connected to Stripe. So Stripe ends up sending the money to my bank account. Now, how that works for me is because I need someone to be able to pay me, Stripe, but I also need to use Acuity Scheduling. So Acuity Scheduling has a partnership with a bunch of payment platforms, but I choose to use Stripe because, again, it charges me Stripe's payment processor fee, and that's all I pay extra. Now, there are software options. So Acuity Scheduling is great because when I use Stripe, Acuity does not take a percentage on top of that. Sometimes what happens is if you use a payment processor on an online platform, I'm going to use Flowdesk as an example. Now, I'm going to say this with an asterisk next to it. I am speaking about information that I know was true. I did not take into the time to research Flowdesk again in the last 24 hours. So if I speak out of turn, forgive me because I could be wrong and I could actually just look it up. But someone like Flowdesk they used to charge a percentage on top of the payment processor. So let's pretend I'm using Acuity Scheduling. What that would look like is someone pays me for a coaching call and it pays through Stripe. Acuity would then charge me another fee on top of that, right? So if that is the case, I don't like to use that software or I will pay more money in order to have those fees knocked off. So for instance, because Squarespace has its own payment processor as well. Well, anyway, it's working on it. But Squarespace's payments goes through Stripe for me. So if I was on the lowest tier of the Squarespace website platform, so Squarespace website platform, if I'm on the lowest tier of that, if someone pays me for a Squarespace template, I would pay Stripe fees and Squarespace fees. However, when I upgrade my Squarespace account to the commerce plan, either the basic or the advanced plan, now suddenly I don't pay Squarespace fees. So when someone buys a template, I only have to pay the fee associated with Stripe. I don't like to pay platform fees on top of payment processor fees. Sometimes you do that just because you're starting out, but when you can afford to upgrade the website platform plan so that you don't pay the extra fee, that's the most ideal. So at the end of the day, I use Stripe because it has lower payment processor fees, period. Any software that connects with a payment processor, I will connect it with my Stripe account. So that's how I do that, right? Now, I have payment processors and you may as well, that have their own payment processor built within the system. So example, Kajabi Payments, JNapp Payments, and then HoneyBook. So those are 3 different software options that I use or platforms that I use that have their own payment processors. So again, Kajabi, JNapp, and then HoneyBook. I choose to use and integrate the payment option, all right? So I choose to do that and use their integrated payment processor for a multitude of reasons, but mostly because it gets me the most flexibility with payments that I'm able to take on. So for example, with HoneyBook, if I didn't use their payment processor, my onboarding process would be a nightmare. So in HoneyBook, what I do is I send a file to people when they're ready to work with me. It's an onboarding packet. They get a breakdown of their service, an agreement, a payment platform where they insert their payment, and then they can go on automatic payments monthly. It would be so difficult for me to have them sign the agreement there and then go somewhere else to input payment. And then if they input payment somewhere else, there's no guarantee that I can store their credit card information. So now I'm having to send manual bills every month to people if they're on a retainer service with me. Absolutely not. So I use HoneyBook's integrated payment processor because it makes my life easy. So even though the fees are a little bit higher than Stripe, I am willing to pay more in fees so that it's an easy experience for me and my clients. Same thing goes with Jane. So Jane has Jane Payments. With Jane Payments, it allows you to send bills that have a pay now button inside of them. It allows people to store their credit cards. It allows for easy transactions when it comes to like online booking. So it was a no-brainer to go with Jane App's integrated payment processor. And I actually can't speak to the level of fees regarding it, but I know that it's very comparable to Stripe. So the difference is completely negligible. And it makes everything easy for patients and for me. Well, it did as a practitioner. So Jane Payments, heck yes to opt in. Then when it comes to Kajabi recently launched their own payment platform. And by using their payment platform now, I'm able to do different things with my offers, like create a cart. I'm able to turn on the gift option. I'm able to do subscriptions for a membership that I have and bill them on the first of the month, not the day that they enroll. So if they enroll on the second or the third when I'm in the middle of the launch, I can actually make it so that the next payment is due on the first of the next month, which is what I wanted, right? So I'm able to do all of those things because I'm opted in to Kajabi Payments. Again, it makes my life easier, gives me more options, and the difference in payment platform or the fees that are associated with their payment processor are negligible when I compare it to Stripe. So I'm not going to have people pay me through Stripe because it would create more headache for me and more headache for the people that I work with. So my message here is if you need to connect a payment processor when something doesn't have an integrated system. So for example, Acuity Scheduling, they don't have a payment processor on their end. I'm like saying that knowing that I'm like, do they now? Who knows? Tech always updates. Regardless, Acuity gives you the option to connect a payment platform. Choose Stripe. Stripe is a great payment processor. If you need a payment processor, I love Stripe. If you need to send one-off bills, you can do that, or invoices, you can do that in Stripe. It's just like, I don't choose to do that because I can do that within HoneyBook. And before I used HoneyBook, I did it in Acuity. So lots of things that I can use Acuity and the payment processor for because I'm connected to Stripe. So let's see where I just literally lost my train of thought. Okay. So, if we have that integrated payment processor like HoneyBook, Kajabi, or Jane, the reason we're doing that is because at the end of the day, it makes everything easy and more streamlined. So again, if you're trying to hook a payment software up and they don't have an integrated platform, Stripe is where I choose to have my most used payment processor system. I don't use PayPal at all. Then if someone offers or a software offers their own payment processor, typically that comes with better convenience, maybe a slightly higher fee for that convenience. And then it will come with more options for checkout and what have you. Okay. So that is the deal when it comes to like, what payment processor should I use or should I consider? And then what payment processor or what should I use a specific payment processor based on fees, or do I think something's better than Stripe, blah, 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 blah. So those are the ones that I recommend and I know work really well. Now, if we're talking about payment processors in general, because there's some misinformation out there as far as like what's allowed, what's not allowed, the blanket statement that I just want to make is when you have an online business, don't charge extra to cover the fee and like say that, right? So I've seen people be like, you can Zelle me or you can pay through Stripe or a payment processor, but it's going to be a fee on top of that for using the payment processor. Don't do that. Just increase your price. So just increase your price overall. So if your service is $10 and the payment processor is going to take 2%, maybe your service becomes 13%. So then you just cover the percentage with the cost of your service. I also know someone that I worked with, she is a lawyer, and she was like, you can't pass those fees off to your people You can't say that. You can't say like, oh, I'm going to charge you more to use the credit card. Based on your state, you definitely, there are different rules. Now, I'm not a lawyer, so you can't like take what I'm saying and say that I said it and hold it against me here. But when it comes to the lawyer situation, she was just saying you can't pass that off. So again, just increase your price overall. Now, also, I have folks who are like, I don't want to pay the credit card processing fees. I'm just going to tell you, again, I'm not a tax consultant. I'm not an accountant. However, payment processor fees are write-offs. So it is just a cost of doing business, right? So if you think of an online business versus an in-person business, I understand like online businesses, you operate at a much higher profit margin, and this is just a cost of doing business, period. You don't have all of the expenses that an in-person business has, like rent, and payment processors are necessary in order to run your business. Like no one wants to log into their bank and do a bank transfer. That's annoying. If you're going to be selling something online, you have to pay a payment processor fee. If you're an in-person business, you might be wondering, well, I want to shave money. I don't want to pay the payment processor fee. I'm going to have people pay me in cash. You do whatever you want to do, but know that the convenience that your payment processor offers within your specific platform is super ideal for patients, especially if they're on any sort of retainer with you, or if they have a package, or if they have an automatic payment of some sort, or if you want to have online booking and make it be easy, right? And again, like Jane gives you the option to use a different payment processor. Most platforms do. They'll say like you can use your own payment processor if you want, or you can opt into Jane Payments, which I highly recommend, because then once you opt into their system, as long as their fees are not exorbitantly more, which I know some platforms have crazy fees I think one of them is Substack, like using Substack and opt in putting your blog on there and charging for it, there's a fee associated with that. I think they take 10%. I could be wrong again, but I'm pretty sure it's 10% plus whatever everything else is, the other fee is. So anyway, what I'm getting at is if something offers an integrated payment processor, as long as the fees are not insane, it can be super useful to use that, because then you're able to offer the convenience that having that payment processor allows for. Right? So for both you and your client or your course participant, whatever you're selling. So payment processors, the top things I want you to take away from this, Stripe is oftentimes a better recommendation because of the fees, the lower fees. If something has an integrated payment processor, I will typically enroll in that because it offers massive convenience, and I haven't come across, especially in the online business world, where fees are much more expensive. And if you're in an in-person business, most platforms, I will put Jane App on a pedestal. They have done a really great job with integrating their payment processor so that it makes it super convenient for any sort of bill sending, online booking, what have you. It's all easy. And lastly, you can't get rid of it. So stop trying. Like, it is just a cost of business. It's not a big deal. Raise your prices by the 2 or 3% that it costs to have the payment processor and call it a day. Cost of doing business, you can write off those payment processor fees. Highly suggest that you do that, because then you're able to like drop the stress that it creates that you're paying all these fees. Welcome to business. This is just something that you pay for, and it's really not a huge deal because, again, you just raise your prices a little bit to cover the fees if you're super concerned about that. Okay, that's all I have for you. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have questions, follow-up questions. I obviously love to answer them. And thank you for writing in this person. Again, it's anonymous, so I can't say thank you to a person directly. So thank you, if you hear this, for writing in about the payment processor. And I hope that answered your question. If you have your own question, you can submit a Letters to Lex. I'll include the Letters to Lex link in the show notes. And again, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for listening. I will catch you next time.